Hello and welcome to my attempt at the show. Hold on for 1 second. If I didn't close that door, I was going to have a giant dog coming in behind me. Actually, I want to do like a reveal. Maybe I'll work that in. Hello, and I've got two people on. I'm going to start right with them because they're both old and we don't have much time. So I'm going to get on two of my oldest friends, Donald Bonaparte, Larry Reese. And both of you keep the crazy to a limit, keep the grumpy old man stuff to a limit, stay out of politics and religion, focus on the disaster that is the current world. Larry?
Boy, is it good to see you.
What's up? What's up?
Yo, man, is it good to see you guys.
Hey. What's up now, y'all?
How's everybody holding up with the chaos?
Holding up pretty good, pretty good. Ain't nothing like when you come out to your car, put your window down, and it don't come back up.
Oh.
At our age, that's a problem with other ways, too.
Yeah.
But,
how is this thing impacting you?
Well, for me, I'm still considered critical.
No, I want to hear from Bonaparte more than you, Larry, because, Larry, you're all geared up to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bonaparte, do your thing.
Okay. The corona is impacting me because I can't get to a shop to get my window put up for me. So that's a definite impact. But on a serious note, it's impacting me throughout my daily life. With the closures and schools being closed, yeah, it's a headache. But it's an understandable headache, too. And it's one that we should have been prepared for, but we never were.
And yeah, it's like all these things. We have warnings, and we can't. There are people that come down on us when we're over-prepared, and people are going to come down when we're under-prepared. You know, there's no middle ground. Everybody wants to always complain.
This is true. This is true. That's one of life's gifts.
Do you is this impacting your work, Bonaparte?
Actually, no. I'm a night shift type person now, so no. We're still trucking right along. No closure, nothing like that. Sales have actually went down, and we're changing what we pretty much ship out.
Okay.
So for the most part, no.
Interesting. What about you, Larry?
Well, a lot of deliveries I do now have protocols that must be met. Thankfully, it means that I'm not handling interactions one-to-one the way I would have. I may pull up with a van full of deliveries and their people will grab it on their own, and I'm out the door a lot faster. In that regards, it's better.
Okay. And for Bonaparte here, the distinctive sound of duct tape.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. When in doubt, duct tape it out.
That's right.
Hey, that's a fact.
I used that line before. If it doesn't stay up on its own, we'll use duct tape.
Hey, it works. It's still good after all these years, so why not?
Don, you could check on go on nextdoor.com and look for mobile mechanics. But because they'll come to you.
I actually have a mobile mechanic who I mentor, but I don't know if he's going to come all the way down to Philly just for a window.
So it's not relevant. So it wasn't worth saying.
I thought about the second part after I thought of the first part.
And that's the story of your life. Thanks, Larry. We've summed it up.
Nah, I'm just going to wait till tomorrow morning and then take it out to Barbera, so I ain't got to worry about it.
It's a Chrysler product. There's a huge There's a huge answer to that one.
Hey.
Here we go. Now it's going to start. I was wondering what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be religion or politics, but it's going to be cars.
Hey, to some of us, cars is religion.
Dodge Caliber is very, very, very good. Excellent gas mileage, the whole 9 yards. Yes, Chrysler, I want some money because I just gave $50 promo. Now,
it's a Dodge Caliber?
Yeah.
It's a little station wagon.
I know what it is. I mean, do you get pulled over constantly and people asking you where you put the body of the girl you stole it from?
Hey, that's only happened to me 2 times in North Philly. Okay, so no. All right.
That doesn't
Yeah.
bode well for the duct tape sound.
Yeah, I know. If we
Um,
wasn't live on the air, I could give you a good story.
Speaking of which, I'm
Yep.
hoping that we're able to do something like this in person on a different setup.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that picture really? That picture really?
That's a good
Yeah, I know
picture.
that picture. Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Back when everybody looks like their
Well,
sons, you know?
Oh God,
well,
yeah.
see, all y'all are the young bucks. All of y'all the youngsters. I am still an
Wait,
old man. Yeah.
by what? Like a year?
Hey, it doesn't matter if it's 1 year or 1 minute now.
Hey, if I count experience as opposed to physical years, I think we're all up to about Methuselah.
Yeah, but
Oh, wow.
you go backwards, Larry. You go backwards. You
It depends on
unlearn
the
stuff.
metric. No. I relearned the things I should have learned from the beginning and wish I had. To
Well, that's
value
what
the
we're
things.
calling it now. We're calling it relearning.
No, it's called reevaluating what
Hey,
you
where'd you get
learned.
that picture?
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing that one. I'm looking at that now.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. You got to send that to me.
Me too.
Yeah, I think you're 6 and he's 7 or something. You can tell the age of it because
Yeah,
Larry's only an A cup in that picture, so he was a young girl.
And I don't have the head that looks.
Hey, now you said keep the craziness down, so leave his size out of it. I mean, hey.
Oh,
True, fair enough.
Besides, they're called man boobs.
Yeah.
hey,
They
they
were
were
there.
called money. They were called money makers for the longest time.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave that with a ew.
Yeah. No one's gonna go there. So don't try your usual force and stuff,
Yeah,
Larry. Ain't
yeah.
gonna work. How's it doing with staying inside? Bones? How's it doing with the family? I mean, has the
I used to love children, not anymore. I used to love my wife. I'm not so sure anymore. What can I say?
well, you love her. If you ever loved her, you love her. You're just worried about liking her. You know.
Okay,
So-
okay, I'll take that then.
Yeah. That's better.
It's a question of it's a question of who's getting on whose nerves the worst.
it's
Look,
it's tough.
this was Sunday, and I volunteered to come out here and mess with this car when I could actually be sitting in there like Netflixing or something like that. So no,
But you can't have any peace. There's no peace now. There's no peace. You know.
yes, it is. Everybody, get out the room. That's peace.
But then you hear a crash upstairs or this or he did this or two people start going at it.
Not my problem. She has to go deal with that. See?
Yeah, I don't know. You are the guy outside duct taping this car, so I don't know how well that went.
He's not duct taping his car.
It
He's
didn't
duct
go that
taping the
good. That's why
entrance.
I'm out here duct taping the car.
He's duct taping
Man.
the entrance to the house to make sure the kids don't get out to find them.
Oh, please. No, but for the first time, they actually missed school, which is highly unusual because when I was those ages, I would never have missed school.
I think
I
people are
would
learning to
love
miss a
every
lot of
second I happen to be
things.
there.
I think people learn to miss a lot of things that they didn't fully appreciate that you need to have this diversity in your day because, it's like getting older, when the punishments of being older become the thing, the punishments of youth become the things you strive for when you get older, like eat your food, go to bed, things like that. I think people are going to cherish things more when it gets back to normal. And I don't buy into this stuff where it's where they do the new normal. It really annoys me. I don't like this whole new normal concept at all.
Well, even if that new
This is
normal
the
is
new normal.
temporary, yeah, I mean, the kids miss school because the school offers stability that they don't have right now. This is nuts, and nobody's used to this. You talk about a new
I
normal,
disagree.
you got to deal with the reality.
I actually disagree. Mine missed school because there's way more rules at home than there is at school.
See, that's what
They're
it's like when you're
different
raising
rules.
your kids properly. No, they're being disciplined, and it should be like that. It should be you want to deal with somebody other than your parents because you know your parents will come down harder on you. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Not like this candy ass stuff that's going on now. You know.
Well,
Go
well,
ahead.
you know, if you're homeschooled, if you get in trouble with the teacher, she's sleeping with the principal, so you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen it on a TV show, so hey. Man.
Yeah.
But nah, homeschooling, I've never been an advocate of. Not once. Simply
No.
because there's experiences that you gain in school that you will not gain locked up in your house. And when you get out in the world, you're going to meet them same people. You're not going to be prepared to deal with them.
Homeschooling is out. It's you have to have the exposure. Or else you're going to be raised to be a different kind of person. That does. You can tell when you meet people that have never been smacked in the head. You can tell it.
Yep.
You know, and
Yep.
you can tell people that have been smacked too much and have been smacked just right. And I don't think
Yep.
that we have generations of people now that are going from homeschooling, home educated to home office and not dealing with people.
Yep.
The you know,
I think our current
And society cannot survive like that.
no.
our current
There's
situation
no way
is going to
society can
show us.
survive like that.
Our current situation is going to show us what happens when you're not exposed to a certain measure of adversity to build up immunities to that. And that comes true not just biologically, socially, economically. If you have no plan B, then when everything hits the fan, you got nothing to fall back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Stop trying to sound smart. Ain't nobody gonna marry your ass. No.
Not after,
For
not
me,
after she,
I'm on the
not-
other.
not after she's stuck in the house.
I'm on
with
the
me.
other side of the coin.
Oh,
I don't
how
think nothing is
metaphorically
going to change
appropriate.
after this.
Whoa, other side of the
I
coin.
don't think
After all
anything
these
is going
years,
to change.
wait. We got to visit that phrase for a second. After all
Why don't
these
you let him
years,
finish his
there's still-
statement? Let him finish talking.
did you catch the irony? The fact that
I
he
did
still
catch
has
the irony,
coin
but I
reference?
let people finish.
Okay, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think nothing is going to change after this. After this blows over, the only thing that will change is the price of everything will go up higher. That's it.
Hey, Larry, how about you never make that sound you just made right there again, especially into a camera?
Sorry about that. This is all new to me.
Yeah, because
Oh, boy.
it was like I live in an apartment above a strip club. Was the sound I just heard.
Well, I don't know. Is that a bad thing?
No, I'd rather live there than above Guantanamo Bay or something.
Yeah.
So you don't think, Donald, you don't think that this will change anything when we're done?
Nope. Sure don't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all countries are so set in their traditions that it's really hard for things to change. And this is a shakeup, but it's one that's going to be forgotten way too soon.
Do you think it'll be lost on? I think that the people that are gaining the most insight from it that'll last are the people that are the older people that the insight will die off with them. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And that's the problem. When the younger people, and when I say younger, I'm talking everybody that's 35 and under is lost.
Yeah, you sound like me because I asked people, how old are you? You said 35. I said, okay, you're an adult. We can talk. I know it's like 20s is lost. It's just lost.
Yeah.
I just had a big shock. I
Yep.
was up in Vermont doing testing with a bunch of old heads standing around talking, and I turned out to be the oldest of them. That felt weird.
Yeah.
I haven't had that experience very often.
No, that
That
happens
should be
far
no
too.
surprise now.
Yeah, it's a daily thing, you know. and you really just want to hit everybody with a stick all the time.
Well, what got me was being up in Vermont. These people I was working alongside with were really rugged, weathered-looking people. Their age, looked really advanced, and I was the oldest by a couple years on several of them.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
I think we will learn a little bit from this, but I think in the end, what will happen is what always happens. They'll use this as a way to regulate, fine, and turn this will be turned into something that will make money because it all comes down to money at the end of the day.
There you go. There you go.
The rich get richer and the poor are kept in their place so that the middle class are too scared not to go to work.
There you go. Exactly. I agree 100%.
I am hopeful otherwise, but I think you're going to be right.
So what have you seen? Like, how many dozen rolls of toilet paper do you guys have? Because you guys didn't go nuts with the toilet paper, did you?
No. Let me address this one first, if I may.
Absolutely not.
While everybody else was panically buying toilet paper, about a year and a half ago, I installed a bidet. $25 off Amazon, best money I ever spent.
There's typical Larry. A discount bidet. Yeah. There's
that was the retail price I paid.
Right. Was it used?
No, it was not. It was brand new in the box. Took 5 minutes to hook up. Bones, you sell them at Home Depot, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Man, but no.
Culturally,
there's no reason to hoard.
Everybody else on the planet uses
an adult always has a pretty good amount of things on hand that they need no matter what. And if not, the military definitely taught me always have enough on hand to cover you for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and I mean, it's not this thing where, I've asked people I know who are survivalists and all. It's not this thing where you have 3 years worth of rations out there, but a responsible adult should have maybe 3 weeks in their house, maybe 3 weeks. And I'm talking canned products and stuff like that. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And you don't need a family of 4 mathematically leads 22 rolls of toilet paper to last a month. And that's if they got some serious Taco Tuesdays going on. Okay. You don't need all this stuff that people are getting. You don't need all this. How do you feel about the governor?
The sewer system up.
Well, that's what's happening now because people think they can flush anything they can wipe their butt with down the sewer system. You know? How do you feel about this whole quarantine thing? Where you at on the
Actually, I love it. And it should have been done a lot sooner.
It should have been. They're not. I don't think it'll be effective. Not because I don't believe that quarantine can work, but because of the way they're implementing it. It's set to fail.
Yeah.
I'll give you my take on the quarantine. Is that we only know 2 things about this virus. Number 1 is it kills and kills quickly, and number 2, it spreads. It hangs around for a while, and spreads fairly effortlessly. Those are the only 2 things we know. So the only bullet we have to put in the gun is quarantine. And until something better comes along, that's our best option to minimize the risk, but we can't eliminate it.
No, it's you should run for some candy ass political office with a bullshit answer like that. And I can't say this on my normal show, but that was such a crapalicious answer that I want to vote for you for whatever you're running for.
What else do we know though? What else do we know other than it spreads and it kills?
Okay,
that's the only 2 things we know.
How many years have zombie movies been out? How many years have zombie movies been out?
That was trading fields.
That should have prepared everybody. That should have prepared every single person on the planet for what an outrageous epidemic can lead to and how to stop it. And nobody paid attention. So, oh well.
The problem is that the way they're quarantining is not going to work. They haven't educated the public. The public doesn't have the supplies. I see people that are wearing gloves, that are eating from bags of food with their gloves on, thinking they're not spreading something, that are wearing gloves, touching their phone to their face, thinking not to spray something. And not to mention those asses that are throwing their biohazards, in parking lots and stuff. The gloves.
There you go.
Did we just lose
There
Mark?
you go.
Oh, he's coming. Oh.
That what they're doing
There he
is the equivalent of if we had they're doing the equivalent of if you said you're going to quarantine. The way to quarantine things is equivalent if I said don't pee in this section of the pool.
I love that analogy.
It ain't going to work.
Exactly.
It ain't going to work.
What happened to the good old days when chickenpox was floating around and people actually got quarantined? I mean, those were real quarantines.
Well,
And that was
We
in our
don't have a
lifetime.
system.
yeah.
Our health system is designed to make money, not to cure problems. This is a real problem, and they don't know how to deal with it.
But the problem is, it was never about the health system. It was about the individual. When you
Right.
got chickenpox, your parents kept you away from everybody else.
Right.
Unless they wanted to get the chickenpox. And then they said, well, hey, well, tell you what, for the block, let's get everybody together, let them all get the chickenpox, and you ain't got to worry about it. It was handled by the individual. It was never handled by the government. And the government shouldn't be handling this. It should be the individuals. They should be responsible enough. If they're not responsible enough, there should be some kind of action taken to make them responsible.
See, he's still the smartest. I see.
No, I'm the one that believes that we need a dictatorship.
I think we have
Because
one
with this
already.
monkey works that we have, there's no way you're going to have it. You need an actual good dictatorship to straighten it out and then try democracy again, because unfortunately, there's some bad points in there.
I'm actually curious to hear your take on the captain of that aircraft carrier being relieved of command after trying to save his people. I thought that somebody in the military was going to rise up and do a coup
No,
after that happened.
no, that would never happen. That unfortunately, that would never happen, because all military people are trained basically to follow whatever orders
Chain
are
of
given,
command.
even if you don't like it.
Well, that letter he did brought attention to the fact that certainly his isn't the only ship that has corona patients
Oh,
aboard,
no, it's not.
but he brought
No,
the
it's
attention
not.
to it. So do you think he was
But he brought
being
the
selfless
outside
doing what he did?
attention.
He brought outside it exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm
He
saying.
brought
He
outside
threw his
attention. It's not. You can't do that.
But he threw his career
You
away
cannot
doing
do
it.
that.
Do you admire him for doing it, or do
Oh.
you think that was a mistake?
I respect him. I admire him, but I think he made a mistake in judgment. And the grounds
That's
that
the
they
answer.
used to relieve him, I agree with 100%. If you're in charge of something that can start World War III, you cannot be swayed by your emotions. Basically, you have to be what Mr. Spock. You have to use true 100% logic. Yes, his crew is sick, but the way he went about getting that notoriety was wrong. What he should have did was have some of his underlings leak it out, do it that way. But it shouldn't have been him, because now he's no longer in a position to make any kind of change anywhere on anything.
If it was any of his underlings that had done it, we wouldn't have heard about it. The fact that he bit the bullet and took that upon himself, wrong or
Cell
right,
phones.
he felt justified.
Cell phones. Everybody got
was-
one. There's
it's
no
not-
such
it's
thing
not
as a hidden
getting-
secret.
It's not getting the message out. It's getting the message out by somebody who has that rank and that position to add validity to the desperateness of the situation. For a
Larry,
If a
captain,
nurse in New York can go crying, if a nurse in New York City can go crying about the people, the bodies, and all that, and it go viral, his plea would have went viral also,
It would have. It
and he
would have,
would have been
Larry.
in a better position.
He
to help.
can't help anybody
really would
now.
have.
Like Donald's saying, he can't help anybody. And I respect the fact that he made the decision. I'm disappointed that with his training, he chose to make that decision. He made his decision not as a soldier, but as a human being. And
Yep.
you can't always mix the 2 well together. You can't have people in a military structure that deciding to react emotionally, because then you get chaos and anarchy. That's what the training is for. That being said, I talked about this yesterday. The optics of this are bad because he did, under the broadest guidelines, he did a wrong thing. But every soldier on that ship cheered for him, and that's leadership. The reason this really came to a head is because the people that are running things now don't recognize true leadership as it manifests itself. And while he's got to follow that military doctrine, he's also got to be a human being. And that's where leadership comes in. And these business people and politicians don't understand what leadership is, because he walked off that ship more in control than anybody else will ever have when they get on it.
So how are you rating it in totality? What he did based on what he knew and the outcome of it. He's wrong. He's right. I hear both sides.
He's wrong,
and I'm conflicted about it. But he
shouldn't have done it. He should have had the tactics to do like Bonaparte was saying. They played him the wrong way. Look, if he were that good, he wouldn't have got caught the way he did, and he would have got it done. He could have went out there. You got 5,000 cell phones on that ship. He could have done it different.
And for him to get to
is that
position,
armchair quarterbacking now?
No, for him to get to the position of the captain.
Everything is armchair quarterbacking. You don't think you're sitting on a destroyer or an aircraft carrier now, do you? This is all armchair quarterbacking.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I can't imagine what it must have been like for him to command an aircraft carrier with that virus decimating your crew and not getting any response through the normal channels, which I'm sure he exhausted.
He knew that this would happen, period. He knew it. He did not get to that position by being stupid. He didn't do that.
But by him knowing what was going to happen,
exactly what would happen,
did he make a calculated move to protect his crew? Is it a good idea? I don't know.
He could have accomplished the same thing without sacrificing his role. He could have done it.
I think he made a calculated decision to protect himself and his future. That's what I think. I don't think it was about his crew.
How did he protect himself and his future? I don't see it.
The liability of heading up a ship full of people that are getting ill.
His future is set, because no matter how this virus goes, as long as he lives, he is set. His children are set. Movie deals, TV deals. He might even run for office on this. I don't know what his agenda actually was. But the sad truth is, that is not how he had to help his people. That is not how he could help his crew. Not even a little bit.
Now, Donald is a Navy veteran, just so that people understand. He's got a little bit more knowledge of this than most people. But, I understand what you're saying, Larry, but I was in a situation where somebody was running for office against somebody who was an incumbent, and they were put up to it by somebody. And I sat down and had a talk with them, and I said, "You're not ready for this. And it's not your time. And I can prove it to you." And the way I proved it to him was by telling them the other person would not have been tricked and manipulated into doing this at this time. The reason that what Donald says is true is because that guy went through a lot of education to get in that post and everything. He didn't make any accidental missteps. And he didn't get there by being emotional.
Yeah, sure did.
So you believe wholeheartedly that his actions was basically only calculated for his own benefit, not for his crew?
I don't know that I believe that, but the first time I heard that makes sense. That makes sense.
And I had never thought of it, but I've never been in the military, so I'll acquiesce to your opinion on it.
Look, the military gave him the responsibility of a major aircraft carrier, something that can do untold damage and start truly by itself, start a world war, and for the most part, hold its own against most small countries. They gave him the responsibility and the trust of handling that. They don't give that to you, me, or any other knucklehead out here. You have to go through all kinds of psychology, all kinds of mental, physical stress, and he did. He worked his way all the way up to that. It was not a true gift. You earned that. That's why there's so few that can actually captain a ship like that.
He bookmarked his place in history, like Donald said.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Because think about this: in a couple months, he would have been the captain of a ship with a high population of people that are sick, and dealing with managing effectively a small city confined like that, and dealing with death after death after death. So maybe it was calculated. Maybe it wasn't all selfish. Maybe it was a little selfish. But isn't everything we do to a degree selfish? I mean, don't we make our decisions based on getting up tomorrow to make other bad decisions? You know, it's what happens.
That's
For
a
the most part,
fascinating
yes.
take on
For
it.
most people, yes. For most people, absolutely yes. Most
I
people are
like.
driven by their own selfish idea.
I'm curious
But
to hear what reporter
his training
looks at what he said.
counteracted a whole lot of that. Huh?
I want to see the reporter that asked the question that based on him bringing attention to this problem at sea, how many cases are on how many other ships on the ocean right now? Not just the Navy vessels, merchant marine, and all the rest of them. It's an aspect of the problem. You're quarantined on the ship, but if that ship is going harbor to harbor, that could be a problem.
Let me ask you
And
this
how
one.
do you get?
Let me ask you this one. He was the captain of that ship. He can take that ship anywhere he wants. Why couldn't he park it right there off the coast?
Because he
And
would have
send
turned it
his
into a
crew
floating
to
mausoleum.
the hospital. He could have sent that crew to the nearest genuine hospital.
It sounded from what I've
But he
heard,
chose
and
not
I
to do
don't
that.
believe. I don't think I had the whole story, but it sounded like that ship has its own hospital aboard, and they were
It
overwhelmed
does.
by such an extent that he thought
And
that
it was.
by him not doing what he did, he was going to be captaining a floating mausoleum.
Well, okay, I'll put it to you this way. If my family is in my house sick and I have to take drastic measure, I'm going to take them to the nearest hospital. If the nearest hospital rejects them, I'm going to fight with that nearest hospital. I will be standing there going toe-to-toe with the security guards, and I will create enough of a ruckus that my family will be admitted one way or another. They're not going to say no. If he felt his crew was in that much jeopardy, why didn't he do the same?
I think what he did may have amounted to something akin to what you just said. And again, I don't know the peculiarities of it.
His crew is still there, still doing what they're doing, still being sick, still getting better underneath a new captain.
Right. His tactics weren't sound. You know, if he was trying to accomplish what you think he was trying to accomplish, Larry, his tactics weren't sound because he could have got it. He could have got it different ways, and there's lots of options. It's interesting to think about it, but it is all armchair quarterbacking. It is, and you know, but
It is. It really is.
It's three reasonably intelligent adults, two and a half, having a intelligent conversation.
I must say, hearing your take on it from having been in the Navy is a take that I never thought of, and I find fascinating.
But that's what I like about this medium is you get to hear from somebody who's hiding from his family in his car, who's got a perspective on life. Normally, you don't get to hear from him.
And once he runs out of cigarettes, all bets are off.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. Well, there's always a Walgreens open, so I'm good.
Other than this, Bonaparte, what's the last new music you listen to? You always love music.
Right now, I'm listening to Alicia Keys.
Okay.
Just sitting back, relaxing in the car, listening to Alicia Keys. After that, I have DMX queued up, and then I'm probably going to end it off. I'm kind of fuzzy on that with Elton John or maybe, just maybe, Wham. I don't know.
Oh, don't do Wham. Come on. Okay.
Why? Wham is pretty good.
Alicia Keys to Wham?
Yeah. Oh, you should hear my playlist at work. They all think I'm just out there.
I can't imagine
rap,
your playlist.
The rap.
Yeah, you go from
DMX
to James Taylor.
Yeah, you're right.
I
What
You're
about you,
absolutely
Larry?
right.
I've gone a similar extreme. The other day I had to play Bing Crosby "Count Your Blessings," which if none of you ever heard
Okay, I
of,
ain't going that far.
yeah, that's
I ain't
pretty
going
far
that
back, but
far.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And do you remember the CD? I don't know if you ever heard New York Rhythm and Soul Review.
Yeah.
Excellent
No,
CD.
not off the top of my head.
Mark, I gave you a copy of that. Bonaparte, I don't think I ever gave you a copy, but to give you an idea how far back I go with that is I walked into Tower Records on Roosevelt Boulevard to buy a CD, and that was playing on the sound system, and I had to buy it. That's how far back that went.
I don't understand this. Jesse does the same thing. Why do you make the same statement as Bonaparte says, but you make it like you wrote the song or you press the CD? He's just playing music. Oh, I went back and I climbed the mountain and then I talked to Jesus and we made the music and whatever. You just put a CD.
The fortuitous fact that I never heard of the CD before. I never would have thought to have looked it up. Never even knew it existed. I knew some of the artists on it, but
that's
it just happened to be playing over a sound system.
That's one of the great things about the internet. I don't know where you are on this, Bonaparte, but things like Pandora have helped me discover music every now and then because I will not break out of my tiny little circle of music on my own.
Amen on that. I can't argue. I found some.
Neither will I. New music I don't like. I don't listen to new music really at all.
If you want to crack up
70s, 80s, 90s, and maybe some 2000s. That's it.
If you could use
and
a good
I love
laugh
the internet because I can have whatever I want.
Look up Wheeling Walker Jr. I had a coworker introduce me to him, and it's friggin' hilarious.
I bet it is. If you have to say it's freaking hilarious, it might not be.
No. This guy is. He would have been the star of the Grease Man show back in the day.
Okay. When you're what was that song, Bonaparte? That music punctuates your life. There was a song.
Great movie.
What was this? What was this song? Who's at the harbor? No. There was a song Bonaparte spliced on an 8-track to loop.
It was the beginning to Color My World.
Yeah.
He had the beginning of Color My World stretched out 8 minutes on a repeating loop.
I hear you, but you're not moving.
I think he just answered another phone.
Oh.
Hold on one moment, y'all.
Oh, please don't. Okay.
I tell you, with this pandemic and knowing the responses haphazardly across state to state, I would feel so much better had the lieutenant governor appointed you to a position of authority.
Yeah, that would have went well.
I don't know.
There's no way to get through this. There's no way. There's no easy shortcut, and blaming politicians is not the way to go. But the problem I have is I see so many clear and obvious missteps, and I see that one of the things you see that comes out in these events all the time is
Stace. Wait a minute, I'm gonna text you.
You have people. You have people in a position of power that are they're not creative, and that rigidness locks them into just things that happen up to the level where people can die from indecisions. I've watched, the way that every day that the governor drags it out and says you have to do this and this and this and this. I don't agree with it, but I would respect it a lot more if it just got locked down early on and we started from there and then eased off instead of eased it on and on and on. Because right now you have an unenforceable degree. If they want to enforce it, they're going to have to roll in the military on American soil and force people to stay in their homes. And that's not quarantine by the mindset of most people out there. It's house arrest.
House arrest and quarantine could be one and the same for the exact same reasons. It's just a different level of desperation. Yeah,
but quarantine is your choice. America's built on choice and freedom. If somebody's standing outside your door telling you can't go out, then that's a problem, and people aren't going to react well to that. all these people that went out and bought all these supplies and these guns and all this other stuff and everything, and always are prepared too much for the wrong things. They got a little disappointed because everybody thought that the apocalypse would have more zombies, and it doesn't. But what they're learning at this is that it really is just this weird, eerie calmness in the face of chaos, because we really are, we don't know what to do, and we don't have creative people thinking about solutions.
I think the zombie fear turned out to be the leaders in this day and age politically of the zombies in this horror film, and that doesn't work very well for us.
Well, I think it would be easy to have anybody who was a leader in this day and age that was could be vilified. I think I don't blame them. I don't blame them so much for I don't blame them for what happened. I don't want to go back to that. Same thing I had talk with Steve. And by the way, Steve couldn't be here because the little prince had to be had to meet with his family and couldn't do it. He's too busy. He's how the heck could somebody not be available for a video conference call on a Sunday afternoon during a quarantine? Come on.
Oh God.
Bonaparte dropped out. We'll see if he comes back. But
did you try Jesse?
Huh?
Did you reach out to Jesse? He has the technological power to do it, that's for sure. He has a beautiful computer set up.
I didn't, because I don't think he would have. I'll try him. I'll do this again. Wait.
You didn't think he would have given me the answer he gave me to a different question. I'll be looking forward to it. I had a long, interesting talk with him the other day.
I know, and I had a
Bonaparte's
conversation with him where he told me the truth.
I see
No, he told me
a circle on a screen.
He told me what he told you. He told you what he told you because that's what you wanted to hear, and he wanted to get off the phone. You don't recognize that in people. You don't recognize that people are just being nice or polite. There's no way that what you're going to, what you want, is going to happen under any circumstance.
What's happening with Bonaparte? Is he coming on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, but don't see you.
I'm waiting on the video.
I'm trying to pull him back in. I feel like Scotty on the transporter.
Well, now I know what happens when I get a phone call.
And you're on a conference call.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to click it and come back in. Exit and come back in. But yeah, I think there's I think that you're being overly optimistic about what's going to happen.
I'm not giving up on it, but I'm not going to be forceful about it. I definitely want to debate it.
Right, and
not here. I understand this is not going to happen here.
But nobody at our age wants to debate with stuff. We're going to do what we're going to do. We're not debating. I can see your dashboard clear now. I can see.
There we go. There we go.
Now I figured out how to do it.
Sponsored by.
Let the smoke burst.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
There should be a network. It should be elderly people just fumbling with trying to sync their phones to Bluetooth and stuff. Like, hold on. Yeah.
Hey, that's cool.
If I can figure out how to sync Windows 10 to Bluetooth, I think I should get an honorary doctorate.
Some things don't work. They just
automatically sync.
They drop out. They just drop out. I have a really nice set of Marshall headphones that just drop out. They're great with anything other than Windows 10 online things.
I can't even figure out.
Mine works fine with the laptop.
I can't even figure out how to get to the setting. I'm in Bluetooth on Windows 10 to turn on Discovery.
Oh, it's at the top. It doesn't look like turning it on. Above everything else, there's a thing that says plus and add Bluetooth. It doesn't look like a toggle. It's like a menu feature. It's the very top one.
I got to look for that then. Thanks.
Music. Yeah, I get my stuff off of Pandora and other stuff. But other than that, I go back to this. Really, the music that we listened to in high school, with Bonaparte being the most diverse, is really that's where I'm grounded at. I really think that high school kind of is like your foundation in many ways. I mean, other than the way your parents raised you and everything. And I was over there, Bonaparte. I was on Blakemore Street. And you know what I realized? I was doing a house inspection. I was down the street from me, like 5 houses. I went out back, took my measurements, talked to the owner, and I realized I can't ever remember being in your backyard.
Yeah, we never went back there.
I stepped into the backyard. I looked down at your old house. I was like, I was never in this backyard.
Trust me, I try my best not to get out there either. So
I never went behind the house because it was like, no, it was weird being in the house because it was the setup and everything, remembering it.
Did they ever update the electrical system, or is there still one plug in the hallway?
I don't even know. I gave up on going back to that neighborhood a long time ago. It breaks my heart. I take the kids through, show them, this is where Daddy grew up. But nope, the neighborhood itself is not the way it used to be. And that actually breaks my heart. That's a whole different discussion, a whole different story.
I think that's part of getting older, is that things aren't the way you remember. You know, they change, and I think it's always changing. And sometimes for the better.
Yeah, but not for the better. Not
for the
better.
I don't know. I think it comes in waves, and maybe the waves are taking longer than a generation. I think I wonder about what's going on right now in the world. Everybody, we're cruising along because of the internet, because of technology. But what are we going to do if one more thing happens? What are we going to do if the power goes out, or somebody throw a brick over the fence? What are we going to do?
This has been my debate with
I'll
Rita, because she doesn't like that I leave for work.
Add 5 + 5.
I talked to Rita. She doesn't like the fact that I go to work and I'm around different people in different areas, and I come home and I try to mitigate any risk, wash thoroughly, jump in the shower right away, put the clothes in the washing machine. But she is so hyper vigilant that it's almost nothing I could say will give her comfort. But I look at the grand scheme of things, that the job I do prevents the electrical workers to do what they have to do, so that she's able to have electricity to do her work from home. And she does accounts payable for Children's Hospital, which I'm sure are setting up emergency hospitals and parking lots that need power. So everything is looped together. There's layers there that if we all do the best job we can and hope for the best, maybe it'll work. I don't know. But I don't feel right the idea of staying home. But I think I probably should.
Well, staying home isn't
I told my old lady, no. My old lady was concerned the same way, and a bit of a hypochondriac, and I told her the truth. Look, realistically, if it's your time, it's your time. Whether you get hit by a bus, catch a bullet, or catch corona.
That's exactly the same way that I'm saying.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. He said hypochondriac. You said hypervigilant, because you have to make it more noble. She's hypervigilant. And what I would say to Rita right now, Larry, is I'd say, Rita, Larry's doing his best. That's all he's ever done, much to all of our chagrin. And if you think the point at which you hygienically compromised with Larry, that was a few years ago. You've already
yeah.
But you said hypervigilant. He said hypochondriac.
No, it's hypochondriac. There's a difference, and I'll say the description of hypochondriac is fear of all germs. Hypervigilant is you take every possible precaution. She's always wiping surfaces down. She's not fearful of the germs, but she feels that if she doesn't wipe a particular surface at least 5 times that day, that she did not do everything in her power to mitigate the risk.
It's the same thing.
Same damn thing. Church
it is
the same thing.
Hypochondriac is fear of going out. They won't take the necessary precautions because they don't believe there are any. That you can never go out because of the fear. The fear overwhelms you. Hypervigilant
A
is that
hypochondriac,
you have
if I sneeze, a hypochondriac will swear they have a cold. That's a
Right.
hypochondriac.
A
You
hy-
believe
a
you're
hypo-
going to get whatever you're going to get.
a hypervigilant person will tell you to sneeze in your elbow, or if you sneeze and you don't cover it, they'll be there wiping every surface to try to mitigate the risk of anything happen. That's the difference between hypervigilant and hypochondriac, and then there is a distinct difference.
Yeah. Wipe it out. Yeah. You see, you sold no one because wiping out a surface 5 times in a day, unless she's in a slaughterhouse, how many germs do you guys bringing in there? How many people are coming through there?
She perceives the risk to herself as her being a potential carrier to go to Blaze and Rocco. She cannot accept any risk going to those kids. So me being around
Larry,
her after being out in the world.
I want you to do exactly what I did the first day this nonsense kicked off. I stuck my finger up my nose and I chased my old lady and both my kids around the house, and I gave them the boogie touch.
Oh, I love that one. I got to
After
definitely use
that, it was not a problem no more.
that is a genius.
Hey,
I was over at my sister's house and she was so concerned and being so vigilant. And I see the cat walks in and out. They have a pet door in the back, and this cat goes throughout the neighborhood, killing everything in sight. And I'm thinking, I know
Yeah.
she isn't there with a bunch of alcohol wipes wiping the cat down when it walks through the door.
Now, real important, just so that we're clear on this, and Bonaparte doesn't get in trouble with Rita. He said nose, Larry, because I know you're going to mess it up. He said nose.
hey,
Whatever works.
I did that when they first put Montgomery County on lockdown because my old lady was having a panic attack. Oh my God, you're out in Montgomery County. You might have, and that's when I did it. So guess what? Now, if I got it, we all got it. So we'll get over it.
And that's the only thing you can do, really, is protect the at-risk population, get people to build up an immunity to it that have got to be confronted with it, and then move on. Because even if we just all go inside, this passes by like an angry bear through camp, it can come back, and it will come back, and it'll hit us again. We can't
Certainly
take
will.
We can take
They're
America.
saying it's just like the flu. It's just like the flu, and it will be coming back again. The question is, will we have any kind of a tolerance for it?
Right.
This may be more like the biblical story of Passover. It's going to take every firstborn son. This thing's getting scary. Yeah. And when all of the news shows on Sunday morning sound more and more dire, that gets me concerned.
Don't get me started on the media.
They're competing.
Don't get me started on the media.
Now, I am at the low end of the media food chain, and I don't adhere to any of their things. I don't adhere to any of the values that they have developed in the past 30 or 40 years. I go back to Cronkite and things like that. Facts.
Yep.
Facts. Not even truths. Facts.
Yep.
This stuff now, it's all a personality contest. It's all about polish and likes and things of that nature. It's not about the right things. It's not about the right things.
And on that note, I'd like to promote my new YouTube channel. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm hovering over the mute button with you. I'm hovering over the mute button. Yeah. The minute you say something wrong, there's going to be a picture. The sign of a northbound mule is going to be up on the screen in front of you. Wow, Larry, your sister's commenting on YouTube. She's
oh God.
That cat is cleaner than Larry.
Hey, if I can lick myself, I'll never come out either.
I'm getting ready to leave, y'all. Y'all have fun. I'm going to go relieve her. I've had my break. That's something else we do. We take turns getting away from them kids.
We'll do this again. We'll do this again, Bonaparte. Your whole thing could be car chats. It could be
that's ironic.
Yeah.
that he's
As long as we got
broadcasting
the
from behind.
corona.
The idea that he's broadcasting
Uh-oh.
from behind the wheel and I'm not is ironic.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, he
That's
brought
right.
it back. That's what he does.
All right, gentlemen, y'all have a good night.
Good seeing you, Donald. Stay
Am
safe.
I staying
All
on
right,
or are
take
we
care.
ending this or what are we doing?
We can go on a little longer.
Okay.
We can go on a little longer. See, that's how.
That listening to his point of view and perspective from a naval career, that was fascinating.
It is.
Because I-
It is. And that's the point, is that when you listen to the media that comes from 6 sources in general, you're not getting a full perspective of what's going on in this world. You're getting a point of view. Even we're sharing a point of view, but we've got the decency to argue with each other, and disagree and agree to disagree and walk away. I mean, I haven't talked to Bonaparte in quite some time,
Well, the
but
nice thing about talking to you and talking to Bonaparte is if you guys disagree with me, there are subjects that I feel both of you are more intelligent than I am, or at least share enough of an intelligent perspective that I haven't heard that I know I better listen to. I don't full-heartedly think I'm right on every subject, but I like being able to debate somebody who could see a different subject and not turn it into an escalation. And that's rare nowadays.
well, and because people can't merely disagree, because everything's got to be grander than that. And I have to be right, and for me to be right, you have to be wrong, and there is no middle ground there. And I'm going to chomp at you until I prove you're wrong, and I just can't disagree. And one of the things that happens that comes with age is that you can just say, you know what, if you want to think the world's made of pixie dust, and that's fine. I'm going about my business. You take care of yourself. I got a low blood sugar thing to deal with. So, and we can do that. I haven't talked to Bonaparte. I mean, that's the longest conversation I've had with Bonaparte in. And we used to talk constantly in 20 years, it just popped in. But you can pop in like you're not breaking stride when you really know something. You can't make all friends.
There are insights that the two of you have to me, and this is the premise of us getting together regardless of the circumstances, that I look forward to, because having a conversation with somebody that you know that long, who knows you that well, is kind of like dealing with an intelligent mirror. You see things in yourself through their eyes that you may have seen but not know how to express or understand or interpret. And that's a wonderful thing.
Well,
a lot of what the project that I'm working on now is pure interpretation. And my interpretation could be wrong, but by putting it out there, I put it out for scrutiny. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's pointed out to me, and I'll revisit it and change it accordingly.
Well, Kenny Rogers just passed away, and he has a song that wasn't played a lot called Old Friends. And it says, who finished my stories when you're gone, who tell me when I'm wrong. And that's part of what old friends do. And new friends don't do that, because they want to say, oh, don't you look great? Oh, isn't everything perfect? They want to say, old friends and true friends are the ones that tell you, you're not going out wearing that, are you? Don't do that. Don't do that.
I had an analogy hit my head to the request I made from you before. Remembering back on teaching you to drive my van, Henry Avenue, Walnut Lane, and a water gun. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
One of the stupidest things we did.
Constantly. Didn't you see Bonaparte? Did you see Bonaparte reacting to going, here he goes again? And he was just reacting, and he hasn't dealt with you in a decade. But he knows.
Okay, well, follow me since you know the story. That was really fun, but very stupid. And I'm looking at that as an analogy to the request, and I'll leave it at that.
Right. You won't leave anything at anything because you don't understand the concept of dropping a subject. You're not going to change. You couldn't change my mind in high school. You're not going to change it now. It's not going to change. You've made your choice about what you do to enjoy yourself. I've made my choice. I'm not imposing mine on you. Don't impose yours on me.
No, I'll just put it out there as an analogy, though.
Right. I get the analogy. I get it. It's the bestest thing. It's the funniest thing. It's the same thing.
No, it's actually none of those things. But the fact that we still have it after all these years as a memory, even though it was stupid, and I'll be the first to admit it was stupid.
And your sister is right down in the comments saying, "Here it comes," and boom, because you're that predictable. It's painful. It's painful. Leave other people alone. Let them make their own choices. We're all adults. Larry, nobody loves you more than Joy. Nobody loves you more than Joy. But I swear to God, if she goes and buys a shovel, starts digging a hole, I'll loan her a shovel. I'll loan her the shovel. That probably isn't something that I should say. And it's probably something I should say to you, given the circumstances that all of that. This is why you can't do things live. Now this position you're in. See, the last time I saw this position, somebody had Princess Leia on a chain, and Luke Skywalker was coming in to save her. Okay, it's a Jabba the Hutt reference.
I'm more the Chewbacca guy myself.
Yeah. How is everything? How's everything otherwise?
Well, you tend to not think in terms of health issues when the idea of going to a doctor is almost completely removed off the table. I woke up the other day at 1 a.m. to a request from Franny for masks, which thankfully I had a pair, and I was able to drop off to his house along with a bag of homemade chocolate chip cookies from Rita. That felt kind of good. That kind of messed with my head, though, that early in the morning, so that I used that coupled with the inspiration of you doing your shows to put together the episode that I did on YouTube with Frank, and I'm going forward with that. But I feel benefited from having lost everything, that in this day and age where everybody is not knowing how to deal with this, kind of at an advantage. I feel more appreciative and more spiritual.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. Bonaparte's 10 times more grounded than you are, and you can see it in everything because he's not polishing the turd and he's not trying to sell it to anybody. It's just there. When you reach that level of Zen, it's just there. It's not quiet. It's not loud. It's not calm. It's not agitated. It's just there. Important thing to touch on, though, is that Fran is a friend of ours who's worked in healthcare as long as I can remember. Now, that's a big problem. You got people in healthcare that don't have masks, that don't have equipment, basic supplies. They're talking about ventilators and all this stuff, which is all very important. But here you go. You're dropping off 2 masks that you bought from the Burlington Farmers Market in 1987, and you're giving them to him because he doesn't have masks, and he works at a hospital care provider. Why not? Why aren't we making sure that we're getting masks and gloves to everybody right away?
It's poor planning because there's no leadership that has taken a role other than, Andrew Cuomo sounds good on stage. That doctor that stands about Trump, he sounds pretty good. But this
we're talking about a manufacturing thing. We're 3 weeks into this thing, minimum. So
Trump always had the option of telling 3M, we're taking over your operations. You are going to be making masks 24/7, 365 until further notice. He didn't pull that trigger. Instead, he's putting it out there in the private sector and making states bid against the federal government for these resources.
Well, and
if you take the profit motive.
Yeah, he's doing it the way a businessman would, and that may not be the best fit for this. But people need
the goals are different.
Yeah, the goals are different. It's money and power either way versus survival. It's like Bonaparte said. it back with the chicken pox. Your family used to take care of it. They've taken that ability away from the person to be autonomous, and now they're getting penalized because of it. It's biting them in the butt that there's no independence. France should not have to ask you for masks. France should not have to ask you for gloves. The hospital should have them. There should be more coming. Masks,
Absolutely.
gloves, toilet paper, equipment should be coming. We shouldn't be worried about grandiose things. We shouldn't be sending ships to there so that they're a nice. They send these things out like back in the movies in the 80s when they were doing movies. I remember Jesse would say, "Look at this scene in the movie. This is the part they're going to write the video game based on." And it became true. You could start to see the video game scenes that they were going to write on. And I look at the ships and I see, you know what those are? Those are optics. Those are just going to be graphics for running for office. Because they're not serving the right point that they should. They're not. They're too limited.
When it comes to the optics, the question that I'm wondering about, and I hope to God it doesn't come to be, we got used to this, seeing children removed from parents, put in cages, that, the country's gotten numb to that. Are we going to reach the point from LA and Hollywood where you get miles and miles of just homeless encampments, seeing the military go in hazmat suits, throwing bodies in dumpsters and incinerators? Is that going to become our new norm?
Well, I refuse to accept the phrase "new normal" because that's a compromise. Years ago, when I was sick and couldn't get around, and they said, you'll have to learn to you'll have to learn to deal with this. And like, no, I don't want to deal with it. I want to get beyond it. And I was able to. Fortunately, I don't accept the constant lowering of the bar. The bar is on the ground already. We got to raise the bar. We're supposed to use things like this to be better and to rise up. You talk about medical stuff and not calling. Ambulance calls have been down. Emergency services calls in general have been down because people have gotten their perspective back for a couple of minutes. Now, last night what happened was the fools started to come back out again. They're starting to get a little comfortable with it, and they started hurting each other, and that's what's going to happen. But we had a quiet week or so where nobody was hurting each other. We do have that capacity. To all the people that stockpiled and hoarded everything, thinking zombies were going to come over the hill or great riots, they haven't happened yet, fortunately. To the people that took way more than their share of toilet paper, there's a certain place in hell for you. And I hope when you get there, there's no bidets, there's no toilet paper, there's just rocks, sharp rocks.
With points and spurs.
Right. And these rocks are always on fire. They're fire rocks. And it's always Taco Tuesday. Okay? That's what I hope.
Oh,
That's what
God. If what you just said was filtered through a different recommended medium that we talked about, I think I'd be laying on the floor crying right now.
Yeah. But so, we're all getting older, but you're becoming a squinty hunchback from that camera angle. And I know I'm
trying not to move the camera because it feels like it was in a good spot, but let me see if I can do it. It's not very comfortable.
I feel like this is the worst adult chat room ever that I chose, that I wanted to pay below 49 cents. And
I was thinking that I was going to do this on the laptop. I had the seating set up, the backdrop set up, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how the hell to get Windows 10 to talk to these headphones.
It's better just to use the wired headphone, or I have these wireless, these nice Bluetooth ones that are iffy. They don't work when they do. They don't work on any of these YouTube things. And then I went back to the trusty old Yeti.
I got a really good mic I got to pull out to do what I'm going to be doing. These headphones are Bose, so they're good quality. I just physically couldn't find in Windows 10 how to say, okay, look for a Bluetooth connection. That was the most annoying Windows encounter I've had lately, and I guess I realized why I appreciate Chrome.
Well, they're both different. They're both, you know, different elements of the same thing. They're no one's, it's kind of like religion. No one's better than the other one.
No, but if you're used to going to the Church of Android, you could kind of understand the service in the Church of Windows, and you're at a loss for the Church of Apple, and that's where I'm at.
Well, and I'm the same way. That's another part of getting older, where you just you get used to different stuff, and it gets tougher for you to see. What we'll do here is let's see. I put it up. It should be on your screen there.
Now, I didn't have that slide button underneath where it said add Bluetooth device.
Well, it's not the slide button that you're worried about. It's the add Bluetooth device above it. Are you sure
I
your
hit
device
that. Yeah, you're looking at the same thing I was looking at. I would walk over now and see if I can do this while we're talking, because I can do the open.
There are other people watching. They don't want to see us do this necessarily, but yeah, we should definitely get together. You know, there's nothing like talking with old friends. Even if it's even old friends fight better. You know.
Oh, it keeps us sharp because it eliminates the BS factor. There's nothing that I could say that you don't know my train of thought, whatever way it's going. And if I'm lying to myself, which oftentimes will happen depending on circumstance, you guys could see through it, even if I don't see through it myself.
Right. And that's what happens. But well,
are you working otherwise? Are you collecting any funds? Anybody paying you anything?
No. The volunteer stuff is impacted weirdly by this, and the paid jobs are all impacted by this. It's the economic repercussions of this are going to far outweigh the biological repercussions of it. There are businesses, I'm sure, at this point that will never reopen, and there are people that will lose careers and lose property and lose relationships and other things. It's going to be bad. And $1,200 a month is not going to fix it. And I don't know where that magic money's coming from or how it suddenly appeared, because I thought we were broke.
Oh, you realize that, we're broke until we need to not be broke, and then all of a sudden we're not broke.
Yeah. It's like there's this giant cookie jar that's really weird, because it's definitely different. It's like there's this cookie jar that's just out there to be used. But yeah, I will.
I understand their position that they claim now emergency. They got to spend the money because it's so dire, and they couldn't spend it before because it would have caused hyperinflation. But part of that is all BS.
If you have the money, you have it. If you don't, you don't. I mean, you can't pull it out of nowhere, and that's where this whole thing gets weird and it falls apart. And that's where it gets very weird. But I'll bring it to an end here, and we'll do this again. I've been doing these short ones. This was the longest one I ever did. This is actually, you know what? I didn't. It was interesting because I've been trying a new thing, and I've been trying new ways to do this, and trying to learn how to do it, and it's been an interesting learning curve. There we go. See, I'm much more comfortable with it. I'm more comfortable with that. Just.
Oh man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's my comfort zone right there. CBS Sunday nights at 7:30.
Did you have an opportunity to look at what I posted?
I did. I can't get through it. And I want to. I really
don't fixate on the message. Just try to follow the logic, as crazy as the logic sounds, because I need somebody who will honestly pick apart aside from me, on one of my future shows, where my logic is faulty, because I want to walk it through with somebody. Somebody.
I'll tell you right now, it's not that the logic is faulty, it's the presentation. It's the
Okay. If the logic isn't faulty and the presentation is, I had Frank do the technical end of it. I didn't want it to be me just talking. I wanted it to be more visuals, but I fell asleep. And he finished the show before I fell asleep. It happens. You're old. What can I do? I started the day early. I ran all the way up to Hoboken, New Jersey. I had to go one intersection before the Holland Tunnel, and I was freaked the hell out because the Holland Tunnel was completely empty. Not a single car going through. I could never have thought I would have saw that.
Fine, but the problem is that you can't. If you fell asleep in the middle of the thing, it's like saying I'd like to be a dancer, except for the diarrhea. You know,
No. There's different stages in what I'm doing. There is the content, which I'm focused on getting the content in a concise format, putting it out there verbally, and then taking it to Frank. I have a lot of visuals, a lot of pictures I've taken, movies I've taken. I want to put together the image with what I'm saying so that the image overlaps what I'm saying. And then he has background music, which is incredible. He has such an ear for his musical knowledge that he puts music in that I've never heard before, and it makes for an entire show. But I wanted to put more visual. I didn't want it to be me talking to the camera. I don't like that.
That's difficult to do. Monologuing is difficult to do, but it is the backbone of, I think, interviewing and conversations. So what you should do, the problem with the way you're doing it is you pat yourself on the back before anybody else has a chance to. You don't give a chance to say attaboy or good job because you're already doing it. You don't do that. You have to go in and either preach or be humble. Don't humbly preach. Be both. And what you need to do is say your bit. Lead from whatever you don't want to what you want. So let's say you want to do, let's say in my instance, it's a radio show. This video format I'm doing because this is my reaction to the pandemic, and I had to rant, and radio just was not, I can't do this on radio. But I don't like this medium. But so if you want to do writing, then use the visual and the audible to lead back to the writing. Give them a little visual, a little audible. Get people on and talk to them. Talk to different people. You know, I can show you how to set up to talk to people and talk to people in short spurts on this medium and get it down. But you don't want to be stuck there because in your videos you look like a hostage held in the Middle East that I'm waiting to see eye blink symbols from to release them, you know, and just be you. Just be you. And I know I regret saying that. I'm regretting it as I'm saying it as it's coming out of my mouth. But don't put on a front for anybody. Just like Bonaparte was just Bonaparte. You know, it's not he's polishing or editing his word. He's saying what flows from his mouth. Authenticity is what you're lacking in your sales thing.
This is where I'm trying to show connections that I'm seeing. And the connections are the selling point. I don't like the idea that I'm preaching, but if he labels it as such, I don't feel I could argue, because ultimately the connections I'm pointing to is to complexity, and complexity being an answer unto itself. So that's where I'm stuck at.
Here's what you need to do. You need to go and study Socratic logic, just a little bit of Socrates. And what that does is that structures the way that breaks down your thoughts into the right food groups, and you process them differently. And you just study some Plato, some Socrates, some Aristotle, and it'll lead you down different roads. And it basically makes discipline in a way. It doesn't change your thoughts, but it makes you see them and segment them differently. And it allows you to bring order to the chaos that's running rampant in your mind.
I definitely got time to do that.
Yeah, we all got time to do stuff. That's what we need to start learning, learning stuff and use this time to grow and to be better. I can't I like the idea of talking to Bonaparte while he's hiding in his car, or and but yeah, the think about it. I'm happy to offer you any guidance or whatever with it. And if you need any technological stuff where you want to do something like anything that I've done, happy to share with you whatever I can.
Well, everything you've done has inspired me to feel less fearful about actually doing it. And I got the pilot and episode 2 done, and I sent him the format for episode number 3. And the format
Last time
for
you got married the first time. You remember that? So I don't want to inspire you because I inspire you in the wrong direction.
oh.
But yeah, we'll be in touch. And it's around dinner time. Go get some food, and then you got to watch your blood sugar like old people do.
And I got at some point I got to talk to you offline. So when you have a moment.
Okay, maybe this evening.
That sounds wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon.
Who's hitting the play button now? You don't have a studio.
Yeah, it's no Russell on this one.
Well,
That was cool.
Russell, we missed you, Russell. We're thinking about you.
Yeah. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.